Hey everybody, got a fun bonus video for you this week. I recently had the opportunity to talk to the former PlayStation innovator slash bigwig, current advisor to indie developers and publishers, Shuhei Yoshida.
Hello, hi Kyle, hi everyone.
Hey.
It's been a while. How have you been?
I've been through a lot. Here's the thing. Last time I spoke to you,
Yeah.
was 2015. E3 2015.
Was it the time you sang a song to me?
Yeah, that was the
Oh
time.
yeah.
I could stay lost in this moment forever.
And when I saw Daniel at Dice Summit, he said that you started your own Patreon now. You are now you do YouTube channel now.
So honestly, it started like 4 years ago.
Okay, I didn't know.
That's the thing is I still it's to this day I still get comments where like, whoa, it's the final Bossman guy. He's still got a channel. And it's like, yeah. I mean, welcome in. Yeah, absolutely. Never too late. So yeah, I've been doing YouTube stuff on my own channel for 4 years now, I think.
Oh, okay. Even one of the biggest fans of you in the world didn't notice. I guess one of the reasons could be, there's no E3 show anymore, so you cannot critique our E3 keynotes. That was one of the best that you did. Every time, it was like, we go to, E3 or Gamescom with the keynote, and I watch your score. That was really fun.
Wait, so I was pretty harsh back in the day. Did you ever take it personally?
No, because I was not like producer of the show or anything. I was one of the actors, right? And to see the critique and compare that to what I felt about our own show was really fun. And oftentimes you gave us really good input, for the future shows. So yeah, wow. I still remember you said, don't say content. What is content? It's all about games.
Hey, did you download any new content last night, dude? Yeah, I played some great content last night.
That's hard. That's hard for me to start an interview there is like, oh yeah, you're right. That was really good when I did that. But I'll keep it in so that some commenters know that I did make a good video once. Here's my question for you though. So you left Sony January of this year. It's March now. Why didn't you just choose to disappear forever?
So when I was leaving SIE, I was hoping to be able to work with some of the indie publishers or developers I used to work with, like a friendly, and I respected. Many of them much younger than me and fun to hang out. But I had no idea, when I left Sony, they are friends with me because I was part of Sony, or if I was me, right? But luckily, as soon as the announcement made that I was leaving, some of them reached out, and others I reached out to them. And now I'm officially advisor of some of the people that I really like and respect.
I was curious about that.
In the committee, yeah.
Because in some of those interviews when you were leaving, right? Like even the one on the the official PlayStation podcast, right? You said and reach out to me. If you want me to work on some indie games, reach out. So clearly that happened. It's so funny you say you weren't sure if they liked you for your connections or for you. Do you here's the thing. I was obviously you have an incredibly valuable perspective. And so now that's reaffirmed, right? Oh yeah, I do know how to do this.
Well, I liked, Kyle Bossman's show because it was you. Not because you were part of Game Trailers. Yeah, maybe something similar to that.
Here's the thing. You could have retired, right? You could have taken your money and left, but you say you didn't want to do this because it's fun. And I want to know what is fun about game development to you?
Well, game development. So I'm not developing games, right? I'm too old for that. Developing games is so hard. I used to be a producer, and it was really fun. But I worked so hard as a producer. There's no end, right? Because producer can do anything, everything, right? And make sure everything goes well. It's not like there's a list of tasks, and if you do them great, that's great. Oftentimes you have to create your own tasks, right? To look at things and go. Yeah, so it was fun when I was doing, but I was young, I didn't mind working so hard, but I'm too old to do developing myself. So I have so much respect for people who work really hard to create amazing games, small or big. And for the last 5 years, I worked with indie developers and indie publishers. And, I was able to see some of the greatest games being made and polished and released. And they got great reception and went on to take, some awards at the end of the year. So that whole process, and occasionally I get to be able to give some input, and some people like my input and tells me later that I helped them for something. That's amazing thing.
Obviously, like having this opportunity with you, I do really want to talk about those producer days. Even the sweaty early PlayStation producer days when you had to work too hard when you were young and like, I can do this, I can do the hours. Because here's the thing, here's what's wild is you're there at the ground floor, right? Mm-hmm. In 1993 is when you joined the PlayStation team.
Yeah.
You always say you're the first non-engineer who worked there, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I think is crazy about that is, right, like so you started at Sony in 86, right?
Yeah.
And you were discussing how much you love video games to your coworkers. Mm-hmm. And so when they were making a video game team, they said, we should talk to Shuhei, get him in there.
Yeah, well, so the first position I got was in the corporate strategy group. That group was helping Ken Kutaragi's team making the sound chip for Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. And I was advising the person who was assigned to the project to help. And I was saying to, how much I love video games. And my boss remembered me doing that. And his name is Tokunaka-san, ended up joining Ken's team as Ken's boss and became the president of Sony Computer Entertainment. So Tokunaka-san remembered me, and luckily he thought I could be of some use for his new team, and so he brought me in.
So in 1992-93,
yeah.
What games are you geeking out about? Like, what were you even talking about that you love so much?
That was still Super Nintendo days, right? And I was, I think, I, like many Japanese people, I was a huge fan of RPGs, JRPGs, like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and the Shin Megami Tensei. There are many great, JRPGs on Super Nintendo system. And of course, platformers like, Mario's and Sonic, like that. Yeah. And
that's the stuff you loved.
Yeah.
Because here's what I think. Okay, so to get to the bottom of why I think it's so interesting, right? Is like you didn't have to tell your boss you love video games. You know what I mean? Like you put I feel like you were shooting your shot at that point. You know what I mean? It sounds like yours like, hey, if we ever get involved more with games, I want to be on that team. Get me in there. And basically, was that irregular? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what was the rest of the team also geeking out about Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy and even like Sonic and Mario?
I remember another person who joined the same group, same year. Shuji Utsumi went on to join the US part of a PlayStation team when we launched. So I was Shuji and myself were assigned to the same group, corporate strategy group, among maybe 40 people department, and maybe we were the only two really liked video game. And I was lucky to join Ken's team at launch, and Shuji somehow got the position in the US branch of PlayStation around the same time, and we kind of grew up together. And Shuji now is president of Sega.
Do you ever still talk to him?
Yeah, occasionally. When he got the Sega president job, we had dinner and at industry events. He's very good at to come to Sony party, right? Sony still throw parties at Gamescom or other game events, and unlike the top executives of big publishers, Shuji actually come to these parties. Maybe because he used to work for PlayStation, right? So he knows, he sees some of his old friends when he comes to our party. Not my party anymore, but so I used to see him a couple times a year.
What's so crazy to me is to imagine this team constructing the PlayStation hardware, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not a bunch of like gamer nerds. They're really just like computer nerds, and you're the only one who's there who's just like, can you even imagine what we can do with this? You're the one thinking about RPGs and platformers while everyone else is working on the hardware itself. I find that really interesting.
Well, no. What I said, we were the only gamers or the corporate strategy group that Shuji and
so back when you're just working on the sound chips back in that era, before 93,
the headquarter team. These are very serious, business people. But Ken's team, they are brilliant engineers, and many of them were gamers as well. And they are so excited to make the game console of their dream.
So one time, we're talking like the early months of COVID, right? I'm just starting off on my Twitch channel, and I'm streaming The Legend of Dragoon, and I'm like, I'm having a good time, but I'm like kind of like, you know what? I was being cynical. It's like, honestly, it looks like Sony just at the time, they wanted their own Final Fantasy VII. And then EOSP shows up in my Twitch chat and says, "No one told us to make any kind of game. We wanted to make this game." I feel bad.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. I was so excited that Kyle Bossman is streaming Legend of Dragoon. What's going on?
But what I truly find, well, firstly humbling, but also fascinating about that is this idea of like, even at that point, it was a huge team, right? That's a huge RPG. The idea was, let's make a fun video game. Let's just assemble a team. Let's get a team together to make a huge, triple disc RPG together. Mm-hmm. Those early ages is so interesting to me. And so I wonder, like, if you could talk about what it means to put a game together in an era where it's just like, let's just make a good game.
Yeah, so it was 1996 that I started the game producer job. And my first project was localization producer for Crash Bandicoot for the Japanese market. But at the same time, I was given assignment to grow the internal studio for Japan studio. And at that time, there's only one internal team, Kazunori Yamauchi's team, starting to make the Gran Turismo. So what I started doing was to hire a bunch of people from industry. Actually, when I got the assignment, there are already 3 people making prototyping, like action, 3D action platformer like prototype. Only 3 people. 1 person came from Sega, and 2 people were new hire out of college. 1 programmer, 2 artists. and that project became Ape Escape. And the one of the hire in the year that I did was from Squaresoft. It was before the merger with Enix. And this person, Hasebe-san, was one of the battle designer for Mario RPG. You remember Mario RPG on the Super
Heck
Nintendo?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great game, right? And he
Yes.
designed the combat, like timing input, like
Yes.
for the
It's really hard.
yeah turn based. So you see the origin of Legend of Dragoon, right?
Yeah.
It's a turn-based game, but with the input, and I really like the game. And when he joined us, I asked him, what do you want to do? I want to make a new RPG. And that's how I started gathering even more people to start making Legend of Dragoon. And the Final Fantasy VII was already announced, and the use of the 3D graphics for the combat and the pre-rendered CG, beautiful CG for the background was amazing to us. It was like, oh, this is like a next generation kind of
that stuff
game.
holds up too. It still looks good.
Yeah. So we are young and we are naive, and luckily I was given the assignment to grow the internal team. So I was assigned to make a studio larger. So I was given like a free budget almost to hire people and present. This person coming from Square has experience making RPG. We're gonna make, and also we had the very high-end pre-rendering cinematic team being able to produce the pre-rendered movies. So eventually the team got over 100 people internally.
Yeah.
Bunch of them, lots of them, like new graduates, young team. And we spent 3 years to develop Legend of Dragoon.
Which was probably a lot at the time.
Yeah. 100 people, 3 years. And the budget was over $50 million.
So okay,
PS1 game.
I've got so many follow-ups just on this. I'm really curious. All right, the headhunting process, where would you say, all right, what is your salary at SquareSoft, and then you'd have to offer them more, yeah?
Well, I wasn't involved in the offering part, so maybe he got the same salary or like that. We match, what you used to make or something like that.
No, I don't know, because here's this thing is like the early Sony PlayStation days, it's risky to go join your team, right? It's it's a risk because you're not sure this first party studio could really take off at all. And the idea that you were able to assemble the team is so impressive, I think.
Yeah, so I didn't poach Hasebe-san from Square. He just applied to us. So he had some reason he wanted to leave Square, and he found our position. Hey, join our new studio or like that. So if
you're making $50 million games, why not?
No. We were not making $50 million game. I didn't even have a budget when I started because it was internal, production, right? So I was just hiring people. And in Japan, not many experienced people left company. So Hasebe-san and head of Ape Escape, came from Sega. These people are rare find. So I really appreciated them joining. And so what I did was to hire a bunch of young people, right out of college, or even some video game school or like that. And so that's how we assembled the team.
So one thing I find really interesting is even in this early era, right, understanding the value of exclusive software, right? Because here's the thing is like PlayStation would get Final Fantasy VII and it would be getting all of these, third-party exclusives, right? And so the idea that like there is value in creating this team that can create these games for our console exclusively, I think is really interesting. And so I wonder if that came from above to you. Like, were you told like, hey, we need a certain number of titles and they need to like make our console look special?
Yeah, it definitely came from the management group. They,
Mm-hmm.
they are very intent to grow first-party development. And in the US and Europe, they acquired studios like Psygnosis from Europe. In Europe,
Which did Wipeout, yeah?
yeah. And in the US, they had a group of people doing sports games like 989 Sports or like that. But in Japan, the team was so small and mostly external, development. So they really supported me, hiring people and grow the internal studios because they clearly knew the exclusive games are crucial to make the video game platform successful.
What I find really interesting about this time too, right, is that it's like you developing your own skills as a producer. Right? Like it's kind of a thing you fell into, like you got to do Crash Bandicoot because you were the person on the team who could speak English, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you did like you call it like getting lucky, right? But obviously like, you were prepared. You were like it's it's getting that luck but also being prepared for the moment. But what I want to know about, like, as you developed as a producer, do you remember the first time you had a good idea?
I had a good idea first time.
Yeah.
I would say the first project was Crash Bandicoot, right? And Crash Bandicoot had a very beautiful graphics and a tight control, Naughty Dog game, Axani's game design. So platformer, 2.5D kind of, all 3D graphics, but the gameplay was, 2D action platformer. So that was great. But when I played the game as a, view from Japanese market standpoint, the game looked too hard. And, like many Western games, the game didn't explain itself.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
that's not even. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's not a Japanese perspective. That game is too hard. That's a universal. That's a universal perspective. We all think that. I'm thinking about that one, the bridge level with the warthogs. That just run forth. Yeah. That's a hard game.
So hard. So especially from Japanese view, because many Japanese games, do hand holding, right? Lots of nice. Smooth, accommodating, players to enjoy games. So it was like a pre-alpha. The game was, being made, coming close to the development. So there are not much to do. But I discussed with Mark and Naughty Dog, and they agreed because the game was planned to release in the US in September. But for Japan, the December was the biggest time of the year for the game market, end of the year. So there are 3-month gap that Mark agreed to, okay, we'll do things only for the Japanese version. So not just localizing, but he came up with the idea that when you pick up Aku Aku mask, right? The mask for the Japanese version comes to the screen, and there's a one screen of explanation, like X to jump or something, to explain the game for the first few levels. That's one thing he added. And two, we did bunch of playtesting and found out, counted the number of deaths and reported back. And he gave us to add like a checkpoint when the level is too hard. And so we suggested, can you add checkpoint here? And Mark already had the dynamic difficulty so that, when the player is failing so many times, the game secretly adds some more boxes or even checkpoint. So he gave us to do adding a bit more help for the players.
What's wild about that to me is that this is young Mark Cerny. This is your first job as a producer, and you already have this collaborative relationship with him.
Yeah. So they are so great. And the one thing that might have got them to be interested to hear me was when the first meeting when I was assigned as a producer. I felt like I already had the game in development to play, and I had certain ideas I wanted to communicate. Was the game is too hard, right? And the in my mind, the reason for the game is too hard is because the game elements or game mechanic, whether it's the ability or item or boss, enemy, variety, whatever, the lack of varieties, lack of things that the mark can use. So because when you want the game to be progressively challenging, introducing new mechanic always create new challenge, right? So but if you don't have many new mechanic, what you do is to keep raising the difficulty of the game. So that was my theory of why this game is so hard. So I wanted to communicate only that part. This game is too hard. I look at the then latest Super Nintendo game from Nintendo, Donkey Kong Country, and look at purchase the strategy guide and counted the number of new elements for each level. When these are introduced, and counted the number of variety of activities and bosses, and I brought that to the meeting and explained and compared, created chart. This is Crash Bandicoot in the making, and this is Donkey Kong Country, and compare these two in terms of numbers and data, and just try to explain this game is too hard. And they liked what I did.
So Mark Cerny's in this meeting, yeah?
Yeah.
And he's not insulted at all. He just kind of takes these notes well from this first-time producer. That's so fascinating to me.
I remember he wasn't upset.
Wow.
Yeah, he can be a scary person, sometimes.
But the thing is, here's the thing: firstly, I think it's wild that you're coming in with this proper game design perspective in a role that didn't exist before, right? You couldn't go to college for game design. But you're so right in that Donkey Kong Country does, I just replayed it recently, it does introduce new mechanics super late into it. And sometimes just for one level, like the one where the lights turn on and then turn off, and the stop and go, and the weird platforms that run out of gas. Sometimes that's just for one level and then they just move on. So to use that as an example of maybe a deficiency of Crash Bandicoot 1, which is, a bona fide classic, but it's a fair criticism. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah. So the collaboration was great.
Yeah.
Both Mark and Naughty Dog were really collaborative. And for the marketing of Crash Bandicoot 1, I had an amazing marketer in Japan, and she said that, Crash Bandicoot, Crash is fine, but Bandicoot, no one in Japan have heard about this word, Bandicoot. Mm-hmm. So let's make a song for the TV commercial. And she created the TV commercial saying, with just a song of Crash Bandicoot. And the TV commercial in Japan is only 15 seconds. So you really want to grab the attention of the viewers. And
they changed his face too, right?
Changed the face. The eyes were green, and had a really thick, what's the name of this part?
Oh, eyebrows, yeah.
Yeah, eyebrow. That was a bit scary. So ask Naughty Dog to change the color of eye to brown, like Japanese people, and make the eyebrows thinner. Crash was hairy, right, on the surface, and that was a bit scary. Looked like animal. So we asked them can you make it a bit, for our marketing materials, make it really plastic, like a shiny skin.
That's wild. And they took the notes, and they were happy too, and they were they weren't grumpy about it. They were just we'll do it.
Yeah, that worked. So that song, and she also put dance. Because we did song, let's do dance. So in the 15-second commercial, there's a Crash Bandicoot song, and the Crash and the characters are dancing. and Naughty Dog liked it. And for the Crash Bandicoot 3, I think at the opening, for the global version, the Crash start dancing at the beginning of the game, right? Came from the idea from Japanese marketers. So that's how,
That's fun.
how we work together so well.
Yeah, how did like, here's the thing, is I producer is such a broad term even today when it comes to a video game. And so I'm curious like what your assigned roles were at the beginning there and what they developed into.
So I was a producer in Japan, and I produced internally Ape Escape and Legend of Dragoon, and I co-produced the first Gran Turismo, and localization producer for Crash Bandicoot games and Spyro the Dragon games from Insomniac. And I moved to the US because at that time Kaz Hirai was the president of SCEA and the head of the game production team in the US, Kelly Flock, was leaving the company. So I worked with Kaz through our products like Crash Bandicoot or Gran Turismo. So he knew me and he offered me a job to be the head of US development.
So you have a reputation of being pretty good at that point.
I guess. Luckily. Well, So so when I succeeded Kelly, I had 3 or 4 studios, and many of them, probably, most of them had a longer history or experience working in game development, right? And I had to work with them. So luckily, many of them I worked with for so long, like 20 years since. And after that, 2008, Kaz Hirai was the president of PlayStation. He succeeded Ken Kuragi. And he gave me the president of Worldwide Studio job. So from the head of US group to head of global first-party game development group.
They said, hey, I need you out here in the US, and like, hey, I think you'd be good here, like heading Worldwide Studios and everything like that. I want to know like what you think you were like, what made you so good?
What?
What made you the most qualified person at this time?
Well, I was a video game fan, right? So I played games from I was a child, and I think the first job I got in PlayStation was the like a lead account manager kind of role for third-party relations.
Yeah.
So I was helping Namco, Konami, or these Japanese publishers to develop games and publish games on PlayStation. And as I was assigned, I was the lead account manager. So my role was to recruit great games to PlayStation. So naturally, I was already thinking about when I play the game, when the game is great, why this game is great, and also when a team is making great games, why that team is great. So I was always thinking how a great game is made and why this game is great and why the team making great games is great. So that might have prepared me to be a producer.
I find that interesting, right? Like you're in these pitch meetings where they're trying to explain the basics of why this will be a fun video game because it doesn't fully exist yet, right? And so you're absorbing it, you're observing and absorbing, right? You're always asking like what makes a great game and like what makes a great team, right? At that time, what would you say? Like what makes a great game in 1995?
Well, I was playing lots of JRPG on Super Nintendo days, but on PlayStation, partly because I was a producer of action platformer like Crash and Ape Escape or Spyro the Dragon, I grew up as a game, action gamer. And to me, always, how you feel when you have the controller is the most important thing. What makes the game great is how you feel. And the best games, like games from Naughty Dog or Sucker Punch at the time, you forget you're holding a controller, right? Yeah, your controller melts into your hands, and you are just playing the game without thinking about controller. So that's the best game to me, always.
Because I listened to your interview with Hansen of MinMax, right? And you were saying that I guess it's partially your producer era, but like way up until you're president of Worldwide Studios, right? This idea that in presentations you would say, "Okay, let me hold the controller now," I think is really funny because. I mean, maybe I'm being presumptuous about like other executives out there, but I think like, you like video games and like, just as you say, like you think they're fun. You know what a fun video game feels like and you know what an unfun video game feels like. And the idea that in these presentations, people were a little like taken aback when you're like, okay, hand it over. Let me play this. Can you speak to what it meant to play a game in front of a team who is showing you off a video game?
Yeah, well, many situations when I visit studio and check the milestones, or when team try to pitch a new game, I wouldn't let them just show their games like a prototype, and I always ask them, give me a controller, and I wouldn't let them finish the presentation, and usually teams prepare the perfect kind of playthrough, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they practice, many times to really hit the right, best timing to show off the game. But I wouldn't let
like
them.
We would see E3, right?
Yeah. And of course, for the show, they should do that. But I hate being like cheated like that, right?
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm, let me play, and but some games, just plays great, and I just really want to feel. How it plays. And I used to be, to hear that many teams kind of feared me doing that because I don't want to be easily like show off, great graphics and make happy.
So that is one question I got for you. And this is like a broader thing even, but like, your perspective on this will be incredibly informative, I feel like. This idea of like so we talk about exclusive being valuable to a platform, but one thing I'm always thinking about is like IP being valuable to a platform too. This idea that Spider-Man the game does sell consoles, but also Spider-Man the trailer for the game sells consoles. And so I wonder, like, when you're in meetings like this, when you are receiving a pitch for a video game, do you ever think about it as like, what is the value of this game as an announcement, as a trailer, as the little picture on the back of the box, as much as will this be a fun video game?
I was very, very much thinking about it, especially for the last 5 years. I worked for PlayStation. I worked I worked to promote, great indie games on PlayStation. And one of the things that third-party relations team that I worked closely did was to look at all games coming to PlayStation and identify great game early in the process and strike a deal with the publisher or the developer to do some like a console exclusivity.
Right.
And so that people see, wow, these great games coming to PlayStation. PlayStation has great indie games. The people used to say a brand association of that great indie game with the PlayStation. And so in that situation, the impact of announcement is part of the value we are getting. Because the game will be eventually coming out on all platforms, but with console exclusivity come with the opportunity for PlayStation to announce that game for the first time in shows like State of Play, right? Or the showcase, PlayStation Showcase. So the value we are getting is not just the exclusive availability of the game for 6 months or 1 year, but also the impact of that announcement. Like if you remember the game Stray, the cat game in the
Yes.
like a Kowloon,
I love Stray.
feature. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that game was one of these partner titles, and the other game called Fall Guys, right? The big
Yes. Yeah. Talk about COVID days, right? Yeah. Fall Guys
so
was there.
These games look so fantastic. So I was thinking, so these games, when we announce in the show, would be very, very valuable, very, very impactful. So I really, I was actually thinking about not just this game is great, but would this game be great to announce in our show?
That's what because that's what I think about a lot. So I think like in those cases, right, when we're talking about indie games, it's like doing a great service to everybody, right? Because like Stray turns out great. I think about like where the consoles are now, where like a video game IP has to be so much more than a fun video game where the controller melts away. It has to be cross media, you know what I mean? It has to be an IP. It has to we have to be able to make an HBO series out of it at some point. And like, I know that wasn't a concern in in your last 5 years, but I feel like it's a growing concern today, right? Like,
it's a new thing. It's a new thing. I'd say in the last 5 years. When I was doing the first party, I had no interest to get our games made into movie or TV shows. Like there are no great movies made from game IP before. Mm-hmm. Maybe a couple of them, okay movie, but the mostly, in my view, these Hollywood people really didn't understand and respect the creativity in video games, and if anything, they treated video games like merchandise for their movies. And right. Oftentimes movie companies try to secure the exclusivity rights to develop and do nothing. They are just paying money so that other movie companies wouldn't make movies based on the IP. However, when I left First Party and Herman took over, and they started, what they call PlayStation Productions team and Assad. Yeah. And they started producing great movies and TV shows. That's amazing. And other movies like a Mario or Sonic movie.
Yeah, Sega's got their whole team too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems. So one of the big changes now, the games are being respected as a part of art, the creativity. Even from the creators in Hollywood. So there are really nice, meeting of minds happened with the creatives in the film industry and the game industry now. And the film company has discovered that movies made from game IP can be a big success. So it's a growing concern.
Because here's what I think is interesting, right? Is like we're kind of like using them up in a way where like it's so hard to spawn a AAA IP right now. You know what I mean? Like Activision would never just come up with a brand new AAA game. It'd be too risky. EA wouldn't, right? They're not going to come up with a new AAA IP. And so it's kind of like it either has to be like organically grown and you purchase that studio, or you just like keep digging up in your old stuff, this stuff that's already a surefire hit. And so I guess I wonder, like, do you think they should back in the day, you know what I mean? So like some person just says, I have an idea for an RPG. It's called Legend of Dragoon. Let me make this. Or like, is it just kind of a responsibility at this point to just, focus down on surefire IP?
No. It's already happening in the indie community. There are so many great new IPs being made from indie communities every year. Like when you go to the Game Award event, like a DICE Summit or BAFTA, 2 or 3 out of 5 finalists of Game of the Years are indie games. And these days, even movies and TV shows are being made from these indie game IPs. So big publishers don't need to, spend hundreds of millions of dollars to try a new IP. If they do, that's great, but it's too risky. But there's always some new ideas coming, being tried from indies because they have to do it.
So like Balatro, right? Probably the biggest indie of 2024.
Yep.
Would you consider that an IP?
That can be. They have a funny character and nice music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be.
Because that's what I think, right? Is like, that's definitely, that to me is a design first game, right? Like, the game design first and we'll work on the IP. Like the IP becomes a byproduct of how this game is designed, right? And I don't know. Do you perceive it like you see some IP first games where it's like, let's work on the IP first and then make the game inward?
IP first game. Yeah, well, historically, there are so many great, beautiful pitches being made, and they're saying, this is the 3-story arc, like IP or like that, right? but unless the game is great, there's no second or third game, right? Yeah, so yeah, IP first. IP first. I don't remember the games I was involved that was successful and was IP first.
Those pitches you talked about where somebody had like, they planned out the series. Was that regular? There's like, this is a trilogy actually. Like if this one works out, we're going to make this a 3-game thing.
I guess venture capitalists might like these kind of grand plans or vision, because they look at the, creators' vision of the team to invest.
And so I guess like here you are and you're like, you're an indie consultant now, right? Do you hear their pitches out? Do you like listen to a pitch and you're like, here's what you should change or here's what can work? Or is you're waiting till they're already in beta, you already can get your hands on the controller at that point?
Well, I just enjoy doing so. So I don't, I do it as a hobby, I just...
right. You're not a venture capitalist and you're an entirely different, more sincere audience.
I receive like an email from random indie developers asking me to, can you look at my pitch and tell me what's missing, and I give them feedback, and I just enjoy doing that. Or play the prototype and give them, like harsh comments.
So what kind of harsh comments are you handing out?
Well, I always try to understand what the developer is trying to accomplish with the game. Yeah. And especially for the prototype, what is it that they are trying to prove with this particular player group? And I judge, the play experience against that their goal for that particular prototype. So
another thing you mentioned in the Hansen interview that I thought was really funny. You talked about in your producer days, in your president of Worldwide Studio days, you'd go and you'd see these studios, right? And they would be scared of you and you would say, give me the controller. I'm going to make a judgment on this. But you talked about when you gave them feedback, you had to make them think it was their own idea.
Oh, well, I tried to, at least.
I think that's so incredibly funny because that's like that's a leadership tactic, right? For this next portion of the interview, I would like to play a game called Give Me Advice Without Making Me Feel Bad.
Okay.
So what we're going to do here is we're basically role playing. I'm going to role play as somebody who's giving Shuhei an idea for a video game. and then you have to tell me, give me any advice you would give me. That's the thing, is like, play it straight. If you love the idea, tell me you love the idea. Say this is $100,000 idea. Let's go with this. But likely, I'm going to pitch you some things that have issues. And then I would like for you to not hurt my feelings as you give me advice.
Okay.
So my first idea for a video game is an idea where, look, it's very clear right now, people are hungry for throwback 3D platformers. Croc's coming back. Gex is coming back. Heck, Bubsy is coming back. The thing is, Bubsy's coming back, yeah.
Amazing.
Wait, hold on. Were you, did you have any input on Bubsy 3D on the PlayStation?
No, but, we worked with the team. Well, was Siphon Filter made by the same team?
No. So Bubsy, yeah. It's all Bend. I'm not sure what they were called at that time.
Eidetic.
But yeah.
I was only involved with them when they started making Siphon Filter. So no Bubsy.
Was there any conversations about like Bubsy 3D being an absolute stinky
3D
game?
Was working at 60 frames per second on PS1. That was amazing. That was an accomplishment. So I complimented the programming capability of the team.
So this is, okay, the game is paused for a second here. When I first got a PlayStation in the year 1996, my first game is Bubsy 3D, and all I had was a Nintendo, an NES up until that point. So me on Christmas Day, finally getting a PlayStation, finally getting a 3D game, Bubsy blew my world away. I thought this was the coolest stuff.
Oh, okay. So it was Christmas '96 when the Crash Bandicoot came out, but you chose Bubsy 3D over Crash Bandicoot.
Well, I didn't choose it. My parents chose Bubsy. Here's the thing. They told me, they asked. They went to the game store. They're like, what should we get for our kid? And somebody there recommended Bubsy 3D. But anyway, I really liked it. That's the thing. If that's your first game, if that's your only game, you're going to love a game like that. But I remember my uncle being back there on the couch, and he goes like, this is shit compared to Mario 64. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm having a good time. Yeah. Anyway, back to my pitch. My pitch.
Yeah. So
we need to modernize 3D platformers. What I'm presenting today is High Key Douglas, the In-Touch Bedbug. There are 3 fundamentals of this game. 1, it's a roguelite 3D collectathon. 2, he says stuff like, oof chat, I'm low on HP. And finally, 3, you die if he drops the phone. What do you think of my idea?
So when you say you die, who is you? The player dies when this character drops his phone.
That's exactly right, yeah.
So this is lethal video game that could terminate so many people in the world. That's amazing. I have never seen this mechanic before. And in terms of these characters, looks very cute and very interesting physique. He has like 4 arms, and he has some thing, sticking out.
Yeah.
I've seen, this kind of characters in many Devolver digital games. So Devolver might love this game when they see it.
Next game is an MMO.
Okay.
A massive multiplayer online game called World of Rats. Now, in this MMO, everyone is a rat. Okay, obviously you will be able to customize your characters, but the main mechanic is we're known for having super tough boss fights. So, for example, this sewer tabby is going to take 8 actual real-life hours to take down with a squad of 16 rats. That's what's compelling about our gameplay. Now, we also have one other unique feature in this MMO. Once per month, one random player receives a slice of pizza. The pizza is never explained, but the moment you eat that pizza, the next enemy you go up against will die in one hit. Now, this is the X factor, and this is where we all start making a lot of money. We have an in-game auction house, so that slice of pizza could be worth anything, but guaranteed we're getting 30% of that exchange. What do you think of that idea?
Wow, there are some interesting ideas, thrown in here. Like boss fights takes 8 hours
Yes.
to beat with 16-player game.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of commitment for all.
Don't forget about the slice of. If somebody has a slice of pizza, obviously it'll take 1 second.
Okay. So in that
So
case,
the 8-hour boss fights almost incentivize and create value for the pizza slices.
so the beating a boss will give players a lot of experience points or some nice items or gadgets or something like that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So pizza not only shortens your battle, but also gives everyone really nice rewards. That's valuable. Yeah, I see that. Your design that's brilliant because in playing online games, people say that you not only want to enjoy the time, but you enjoy being able to help other people. You in the real life, you might not have that opportunity to really help out other people and become a hero, but in this virtual world, game world, you can be the person to give all the others amazing rewards, and you get respected for that. I see that would be very attractive for some people.
So I'm getting the green light. We should move ahead with this game.
Building MMO takes a lot of resource. So you have to come up with a plan. How many people you need to develop these games, and for how long. The milestones, etc. So that I'll be able to give you feedback if that business plan is practical. But I really like the concept.
All right, I got one last idea.
Okay.
It's a VR game. The problem with PSVR 2, right, is that it has no AAA must-have killer apps, right?
Okay.
I've developed a game. This game's already completed, by the way. It's ready to go.
Wow.
It's all finished at this point. I'm just looking for a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
But the way this one works is it uses the eye tracking feature of the PSVR 2 in a way that's never been used before.
Okay.
The game is called Mind Your Own Business in the Hot Tub. It's a social stealth game.
Okay.
Now, what happens is you're in first person. You're in the hot tub, right? And then you learn like level 1, basically, right? And remember, this is a AAA game. It looks beautiful.
Okay.
You learn that the hotel you're staying at also is hosting the International Body Wax Championship. So you have the hottest waxed bodies in the whole planet, men and women hopping into this hot tub, and you can't stare at them. Okay. If you stare at anybody disrespectfully for more than a half second, you lose the game.
Okay.
Somebody tweets about it and you lose your entire reputation.
Okay.
And that's just level 1.
Yeah.
Level 2 is this couple gets in the hot tub, right?
Yeah.
And the man says, "Babe, do you think I'm ugly?" And the woman says, No, you're distinct. And you have to do the best you can not to look at what that guy actually looks like.
Okay.
And so you can see where this goes.
Yeah. Yep.
Do we have a deal?
Yeah, I like the idea of use of the eye tracking to track where you are looking at. You cannot pretend because the technology sees where you're actually looking. And,
Yes.
I haven't seen the game on PSVR 2 that has that mechanic. So I love it. I love it. And you said it's AAA. I don't think it has to be AAA because the idea is so fun, so interesting. So
I've already spent $120 million on this.
So okay, yeah, but still the idea is so intriguing. I would suggest you would reach out to a company owned by a billionaire who would spend $1 billion on this belief in the future of metaverse. He might be able to fund your project.
All right, that was fun. Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I love when a person I talk to ask questions that no one else has, and you've done that so many times. Thank you, Kyle. Not only to meet you, after so many years, and learn about your new venture.
There was a thing where like I had to talk about you actually, like back in it was around Thanksgiving when you announced that you would be leaving Sony.
Oh wow! I have to watch it.
It was like sarcastically nice.
Oh okay.
Here's the point I made is like, it's just like what you're saying. You've got too much fire in your belly left. You're not retiring. You have work to do still,
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah,
and
actually,
I think that's
after
admirable.
left, I feel I'm busier now. And I'm having so much fun talking to media people and influencers like yourself, which I was not allowed when I joined. I was a part of large company. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. We're here at the end of the interview. I wanted to talk about so many other things. Maybe another day, right? What game are you loving right now? What would you recommend?
Well, I saw a game in an event in Japan called Expedition 33. It's a JRPG made by a team in France. And
Yeah.
It's beautiful and it's really interesting premise that the every year the number on the big strange object count down from 100 to and every time the numbers changes, whoever on the earth is older than that number, if the number is 60, everyone over 60 years old dies. And now the number is 33. And there's a group of people 33 years old because all the older people have vanished already.
I'm dead in that universe. Yeah.
Yeah. Going to that strange object to beat that so that stop the countdown. And by the way, it's JRPG made by French people. The core mechanic is a turn-based combat, but with the
it looks like Final Fantasy X. With a little bit of, you're saying a little bit of Legend of Dragoon in there?
Yes. That's so intriguing.
Heck yeah.
Coming out soon, so you should check out.
Very cool. All right. If people want to keep track of you, how do they do that?
On the X, former Twitter, my account is YOSP, and so follow me or see.
When are you switching to Blue Sky?
I have a Blue Sky account because many people recommended that. But because I have so many people followers, I have 400,000 followers on X. I cannot, leave them.
You could leave them. For the record, you could easily leave those 400,000 people.
No. It's so fun every morning when I wake up. People send a message to me, telling me what's wrong with the industry or, thanking me for recommending good indie games. Yeah, so, it's just fun to engage with these people.
It's fun when people tell you what's wrong with the industry?
To learn, perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything we do, it's a feedback from people. And sometimes, kind of harsh comment. But other people might comment to that comment, like a battle between the PlayStation fan and the Xbox fans. Kind of funny to watch that develops.
It's funny to know that you also take joy in,
Yeah.
console wars. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank
and maybe we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, so a little bonus conversation here because like as I was kind of like hinting at earlier on, like I don't like to like talk about me too much. I didn't want this talk to be like focused on me, obviously.
Okay.
But I did want to talk about the first and only other time we've met before, which was E3 2015.
Right.
Because like here's the thing, it was weird. It was weird in that for some reason you were willing to play along with my sense of humor.
Oh, of course.
And that like I guess I just trusted that you would get that. But I did I like walked in and there's like a room of other PR people there, right?
Yep.
I would say like 3 or 4 other people whose job it is to like make sure that you're saying all the right things. Is that who were they?
Oh yeah, those people, the PlayStation's PR team, and because you are based in the US, so I'm sure the US media PR manager. And the person from Japan, because I was visiting from Japan, so PR manager from Japan. So at least two groups were there.
Yeah. And like, I guess in a regular interview, would you ever like say something or slip up and they would be like, please strike that from the record? Is that like basically what they would do?
Well, their role is to try to do that. And when someone asks, questions that's totally evil or totally out of context, PR manager might say, don't answer that.
Right.
Yeah, when I say something stupid, PR manager might try to fix it, but it can be already out, right? Yeah, so it's too late.
The weird thing was basically I had taken the slot game trailers the website had with you, right? So you had your day is booked. It's like, oh, I'm going to do IGN here. I'll do Game Informer here. And then like game trailers right here. So it was a full on like interview slot where I think we did 2 takes. We did 2 takes where I came in, I sing an Aerosmith song to you. We set it up like I'm going to like talk to you for a second. And then I just sing you that whole song. You never crack a smile the entire time. You're a very professional actor.
You feeling better now?
I feel a little better, yeah.
Okay.
And then that's the entire thing. And your PR team allowed that, which I also think is crazy.
Well, at least I didn't say anything negative about PlayStation or nothing for them to be afraid of. I was respectful to you as well, and the relationship with game trailer would have been kept, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was success from my PR people's standpoint.
See, the thing is, like, maybe it's like different. I think it's like, like it's who you were in your position, right? Like, I can't imagine doing that to Herman Holst right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like he's not doing like comedic bits out there, but I don't. Maybe it's just because like you had like tweeted at me at some point where it's like, okay, I got a feeling this guy like gets it. This guy like.
Yeah. Well, and my people, PR people, whoever knew, I was a big fan of your show. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So maybe
that
I
helps
told
out
them
a lot as well.
I'm so excited that Kyle Bossman's coming.
And then we were totally weird, and then we did a weird thing. Yeah, that was fun. That's a good memory for me. It was like a bummer of an E3, like personally, but like I was so happy that you were willing to do that.
Edgy and funny and to the point, convincing during that years. So I don't know what you've been talking, these days, but I see you being more like a behind the scenes person to help, Jeff Keighley produce the show, or like a producer kind of
I still
work.
do some of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you have matured into that kind of management kind of role rather than being
I've not matured
edgy
at
and
all.
funny. Yeah. So hopefully you come back as a as a edgy, funny, comedic influencer.
Promise me you'll watch one video on my YouTube channel.
Okay, I will.
Okay, one. You'll watch one.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
And then, okay, here's the thing. Give me feedback without hurting my feelings after you watch that video. If you think if I've still got it or not.
Okay, I'll watch like
Okay.
5 and give you judgment.
All right, and then I'll let everybody know. I'll give them all the follow-up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.